Another Steam Next Fest is upon us, and I've been playing demos all week to see what games you should keep your eye on. Are half of them roguelikes? Well, you'll just have to stay tuned and find out. Here are my favorite demos, starting with the excellent Cairn. Cairn is probably the closest thing we'll get to a climbing sim. The demo starts you in a climbing gym in front of a bouldering wall, and you put yourself against the wall and start climbing, but this isn't your typical game with climbing in it where you just press forward on the analog stick and move up the wall. Rather, you have to independently move and place each limb. And from the few times that I've been climbing, this really feels like it accurately captures that sensation where you have to look at the problem in front of you, kind of map out what handholds you're going to use, where you're going to position your feet. If you put yourself in an awkward position, you'll start to get tired. And if you run out of stamina, then you fall off the wall altogether. It's going to be tricky to get used to, especially if you're not used to climbing. It looks like it's going to be pretty challenging. And I fell off of these kind of introduction problems multiple times until I really started to get used to how I needed to position my body to make it up the wall, which I think is really neat. And then once you have tested yourself in the gym, you move onto the mountain itself, where it turns into a sort of survival game where you have to manage your hunger and thirst and repair the pythons that you're using as mini checkpoints as you're climbing up the wall. And then the reward is as you climb further up, you can turn around and look over this beautiful landscape and see how far you come. This is shaping up to be a challenging but meditative, solitary experience that I'm really looking forward to. Unfortunately, it was delayed into 2026, but from what I played of the demo, this is shaping up to be a really solid game, and I'm fine with them taking as much time as they need to polish it up. It's looking great so far. Next up is Eclipse Breaker, a third person roguelike action RPG that combines turn based and real time combat. This game looks and feels like it was plucked straight out of the PS1 era, which I think is pretty awesome. You control a character running around a battle arena, combating with different enemies, and you have a slew of RPG-esque abilities, a basic attack, a magic attack, and ultimate. And when you use them, it resets a stamina bar, and you have to let that refill before you can use your next ability. While that's happening, you're running around the arena, dodging, blocking, parrying attacks, and repositioning yourself to maximize the damage for your next ability. This sounds like it would be slow and stilted, especially when you compare it to other action RPGs like Hades, but instead you kind of get that turn-based feel of it, which I think is pretty cool. It creates this fun back and forth where you're using an ability, then reacting to what the enemies are doing, thinking about what your next move is going to be, and where to best position yourself to make sure you're doing the most damage possible. The combat has a lot of potential. It also seems like there's a lot of content here in terms of abilities and upgrades, a story mode, a boss rush mode. So I think this one has a lot of potential, and I'll definitely be keeping my eye on it moving forward. I have a fondness for management sims, but it's been a while since one has really engrossed me. This next game looks like it could do exactly that. This is Tavern Keeper, which places you as the owner and manager of a fantasy themed bar, where you have to manage everything from the decorations, the design, the staff, their schedule, down to what drinks that you serve and what hours you stay open. It's got this awesome storybook feel in terms of the looks, but also the characters that come in and have their own stories that you get to know a little bit better. It's also got great narration, it has a nice sense of humor, and it has a deep decorating and design system where you can combine all sorts of items together to create your own tables and decorations. So those who enjoy the kind of sim style building, I think will find a lot to appreciate about Tavern Keeper. The best part is it's coming out in a couple weeks, so you won't have to wait that long to get your hands on the full experience. I've never really been able to get into Vampire Survivors or any of the countless copycat games over the last couple of years, but I did really enjoy this demo. This is Monsters Are Coming Rock and Road, which adds a tower defense spin to the Horde Survivor formula. You still control a hero who attacks enemies and collects resources and experience, but you're trying to defend this big tower that's plodding along a path trying to reach the end. And as you level up, you can build out this tower, adding extra defenses, weapons, farms for generating resource. What I appreciated about this one is that choosing where to place those upgrades and how different upgrades synergize together feels a little bit more strategic and cerebral than the typical Horde survivor, but you still have the satisfaction of moving the hero around, collecting resources, taking out enemies, and seeing, massive hordes get wiped out by your creations. Of course, it has all of the permanent progression hooks, incrementally increasing damage for your hero, the tower, health, all of that, as well as different buildings with different restrictions. So there's going to be a lot of content here, a lot of game to play. If you like the idea of Vampire Survivors, but it's a little bit too one dimensional for you, this may be one to give a shot. This next one is a weird one. It's probably the most fun I had with any of the demos, but also the game that I'm least excited about. But the premise is just so weird, I had to include it. This is Final Sentence, a typing battle royale. It has a real horror, kind of like dark Squid Game-esque feel, where you get in a lobby with a whole bunch of other players, and you have to type as fast and as accurate as you can. If you make too many mistakes, you can get taken out Russian roulette style. And then after someone has completed the entire typing prompt, the rest of the lobby is gunned down. It's pretty crazy. It's really tense. Like, adding that stakes to it makes typing so much more difficult. The prompts themselves are also really spooky. For a while, I thought this was going to kind of have this story told through the prompts and this weird meditative. I don't think it was actually going somewhere. I think it's just a game that's going for a horror aesthetic and pulls it off pretty well. It was an awesome demo. I had a lot of fun. I played until I could rattle off a few wins. But my worry with this one is that I think it's just a novelty. It's going to be great for farming TikTok clips or watching on Twitch. But unless you're really into typing and improving your typing speed, I don't know if there's much more than a couple hours of enjoyment here. But play the demo because it's really fun. This next demo is a roguelike. I know, there are too many roguelikes. We've reached a saturation point. I agree, but stick with me. This next one is a lot of fun. It's a time management cooking game. Think good pizza, great pizza, but in the Balatro formula. You play as a sushi chef serving customers along a conveyor, and each dish has a base money value and a multiplier that you'll improve through upgrades as you play. Each level is an amount of rent that you have to pay from the earnings of your sushi that goes up exponentially, culminating in a final boss. The upgrades range from new ingredients to make new recipes, to improving the base value of dishes, to increasing the multiplier based on if you have rice cooking or how you arrange ingredients in your sushi roll. And I thought the build crafting was really good. The variety of the few runs that I did seemed pretty broad. I focused on different things each time, and you can make that number go up real quick, which is satisfying in the same way that something like Balatro is. The gameplay itself, too, is fun. It's frantic and chaotic in the same way that these cooking games usually are. And so you're having to play quickly while still thinking about, okay, what upgrades am I looking for the next time I level up? It's a cool take on the Balatro formula. I know we've seen so many of these, but I do think this one is worthy of a try, coming out early 2026. Last, but certainly not least, we have Ambrosia Sky. It's sort of System Shock meets Power Wash Simulator. It's a sci-fi, narrative-focused immersive sim where you play as a disaster specialist returning to her home planet system to clean up after this mass casualty event caused by these weird spreading funguses. As you progress through the levels, it plays like a traditional immersive sim where you have to solve puzzles, you're reading terminals, learning about the world around you, but instead of shooting enemies, you're shooting a water gun to clean up after this crazy fungal infection event. It's dark, almost gruesome, but then it combines with the meditative gameplay of a power wash simulator where you're cleaning things up and using that as a way to get through the level, but also kind of reclaim the previous state of this abandoned space station. It's a really intriguing premise. I like what I've seen of the story so far. And interestingly enough, it's going to release in 3 acts, with the first act coming out November 10th. Well, there you have it. Those are my favorite demos from October's Steam Next Fest. But I'm but one man, and there are so many demos, so I'm sure I've missed some great ones. Make sure to let me know which ones were your favorite in the comments. And for more updates and reviews on brand new games, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, see you.